Right, here's my
Two
hat.
sides.
We have the quarterback of the Kansas State Wildcats, Big 12 champion Will Howard.
So excited to announce Kansas City Sports Network's new soccer channel.
They're taking advantage of a look that they utilized earlier in the game to show the jet sweep motion.
It's a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise.
You kind of root for guys to have those moments, and that was certainly a big moment.
Welcome to Mizzou, that's who your podcast for Missouri Athletics here on KC Sports Network.
Welcome, everybody, to the Border War podcast.
Welcome back. Another episode of A No Season Podcast.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
It's a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC. It is also a game preview edition for week 2. Chiefs, Cardinals, back to the scene of the crime where the Chiefs somehow, despite all of the excuses of the Philadelphia Eagles, were able to overcome and win a Super Bowl. Matthew Lane is here with me. Hi, Matty.
I got a bone to pick with you, Kent.
Oh, no.
I am upset with you.
You listened to the show while I was gone, didn't you?
I did listen to the show. And you know what? I was upset. I was taken aback. You like to warn people that Craig is okay when he's not here because of how important he is and how much he means to you and all the people. And I'm not here, and you couldn't give an expletive about that. I was so angry. I almost crashed into people on the highways of Florida just because I was mad at you for the way you handled that. I don't know how we're going to get over this. And Craig isn't here to mediate right now.
Maddie?
No, don't walk it back.
I'm glad to see you. Hey, what was the best piece of fish you had while you were in Florida?
I don't love fish. Not a big fish guy. I like fish that are pretty meaty though, like a hearty fish. So like I did have mahi a couple times while down there. And it was delicious as always. Like the fish I really like. I just don't like a lot of kinds of fish. So I had some mahi tacos and I had just had some blackened mahi at a place down there. So yeah, I'm a big mahi guy.
What is your take on gator?
Delicious. Oh, especially some like fried gator, little bites, and the whatever kind of sauce all the restaurants down there give you to dip it in too.
It's like a tangy. It's like that zesty onion ring sauce they get at Burger King, but good.
It's like it's something you want to make at home, but there's no possible way you'll ever make it correct. I do enjoy gator. I do enjoy shark as well. So I try seafood. I just don't like the majority of it.
We caught a shark while we were there.
I heard.
And we cut it up and ate it, and it was delicious. I'd never had shark in my life. So
pretty good, right?
I had shark for the first time. I had gator for the first time. Both great. My kid was obsessed with gator. Like he could have eaten a whole gator by himself if we had let him. But we're not talking about Florida. We're talking about Arizona today. The Chiefs are going to be playing in preseason week 2. But also, like, Maddie, we haven't got your opinions on what you saw week 1. So like this can kind of also be an opportunity for you to talk a little bit about what you saw in that week 1 game. So we'll start with offense. The floor is yours. The floor is yours, buddy. Like, give me something that you want to see on offense, and it may bleed over into what you want to talk about from last week. Up to you, but let's talk a little bit about the offensive side of the ball and something you're excited to watch this upcoming week.
I mean, I just want to see the first team offense look not bad. And like, I'm not worried. I'm not concerned whatsoever. Right. Like it's the first game of the preseason. I was watching and I just thought there was a fair bit of like small execution errors that first team offense had. Trey Smith missed blocks. I thought Creed Humphrey was losing leverage battles pretty frequently. Jawan Taylor tried to like box a guy out instead of like actually put forth effort on an outside zone run. So like, overall, I did not think the first team offense played very clean. So I would like to see that pick up. I think if you listen to Andy Heck talk, not Andy Heck, but it was Dave Tobe mentioned that the first units were not playing very well. They were making mistakes. And he said, yes, he's including his special teams unit as well, but he kind of left it open-ended at first. And I think that might be a message the entire coaching staff had this week of practice is like, hey guys, we get it. Your starters, your veterans, you know what you're to do, but like, let's clean it up a little bit. Cause I think that's something that they actually care about. Because I don't think it was very good this first round.
I have a take specifically about what you just mentioned. I'm glad you brought it off the top.
Hit me.
I think the first team offense specifically is going to go nuts early in this week's game. And it's not because they're playing a bad team and they're getting to play Jonathan Gannon again in Arizona. Pew, 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 pew. I think that, you saw some of the stories coming out about Mahomes. You saw what he said on the sidelines to Kimmy Checks. It was like trying to create more urgency, that the Saints had more energy to start that first preseason game. The Chiefs kind of came out of there in a lull. And you saw Mahomes like identify that, be frustrated with that, and try to carry that energy into the rest of the team. And so you saw the second unit start to play better. You saw urgency. You saw energy for the second half of that game. I think Mahomes is going to place an emphasis on this group starting fast, playing well, getting hot, showing what they're kind of capable of doing off the top. I think that's what we're going to see out of this offense, because you're right. They were sluggish. They had some execution.
Don't worry.
You're good. Your mic's
You
good.
hear
Yeah, you're going to have to fix your mic. I'll keep talking. I got you.
audio issues. Okay, hold on,
You're
please.
good.
All right, now I'm back. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that the offense was not going great. It wasn't exactly what they wanted it to be. I think you're going to get that. Last year in the second preseason game, the offense was like not perfect, but their two series, they were excellent. They executed very well. They went up and down the field. They yanked Patrick Mahomes right after that, and all went well, right? So I do believe that you're going to come out, you're going to see a little bit more. Maybe they try to throw a ball more than 5 yards. I don't know. Just a hunch of something that they might try to do. So I think we are going to see that. I think that this offense is going to start off. They're going to look a little better. I don't think they're going to get exotic or anything, but I do think they're going to run a little bit more of a complete offense going forward. And I'm excited for it because I really do. I do think that there was just some, they came out flat. I think the game plan was kind of flat, and I think the play resembled that.
No doubt. And I think that's going to be, it's going to be fun to watch this group respond. I think one of the other things on offense that I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing from this group is the wide receiver rotation. Obviously Nico Remigio hurt. Who knows what's actually going to happen with him? He could be the mystery IR guy where they, hold off until next year until they see him, or they hold off till next year. But I'm curious to just kind of to get a look at, who's playing where. I feel like when they play preseason week 1, game 1, they kind of go a little rank and file. You see the veterans playing a lot earlier, and then they start getting a little bit more serious about the rotations, maybe that are more reflective of some of the stuff you might have seen in training camp. It feels like, they're giving the veterans opportunities kind of in sequential order a lot of times with these. I expect to see a little bit of Richie James, for instance, with the first team offense. It kind of seems like the Chiefs are pushing Richie James pretty hard with some of their social media. The franchise followed him out and mic'd him up. It seems like Richie James has a role on this team, and he's coming off an exceptional performance in the second quarter of that game against the New Orleans Saints.
Richie James did. I think we will get to see him do more. I thought Richie James was very good. He also took advantage of some, blown coverages. I don't want to downplay what he did, but the Saints were leaving him wide open on a lot of these outbreaking routes from the slot. A lot of these corner routes, they just didn't have their switches with that second team unit dotted up and like have their T's crossed and I's dotted, and they left him wide open, but he still made great plays. You can kind of tell he was on his one kick return opportunity, very decisive. He knew exactly what he wanted to do when he was on top of it. And I think that does go to show that, the veteran experience that he has, the kind of person, the kind of worker that he is. I would expect to see him come in and do a little bit more with that, hopefully get some run with the first team. I thought it was interesting though. Rashee Rice got in real early with the first team in that first game, and I see no reason why he won't again. I thought he also was pretty impressive, just the way he moved. It was a little bit different than a lot of the other wide receivers. The explosiveness, the physicality, the ability to block, to make contested catches. Like, he put a little bit out there, and I think the Chiefs left a little bit more for him working downfield. So I'm really excited to see those two guys specifically if they get a chance to run with the ones and kind of what their role is going to look like.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw to Rashee Rice that first game. Some people got upset that I said that because of the drop, but like, he had a really difficult catch in the middle of the field in this area where you know you're going to get hit, and it takes a lot of focus and concentration to try to bring that football down, especially since it wasn't a great throw. I mean, I really liked what I saw out of Rashee Rice. Like, yes, the drop on the out route, you would rather see him not do that. But yeah, I'm really excited. He's the one. I think Sky Moore and Rashee Rice are primed to have significant roles on this team, where I think Sky Moore's getting more than 250 this year for sure. And if he doesn't, we got problems. And Rashee Rice, I think, is going to kind of buck some of the trends that you see of the Andy Reid year one wide receivers. I think he's going to have a more productive season than maybe some of the more recent year one wide receivers that we've seen in this team. I mean, McCole Hardman, I know he had a very niche role his rookie year, but I think he got somewhere around 500 yards, close to 600 his rookie season. I wouldn't be surprised at all, even though it's a different role. I could see that kind of volume yardage for a Rashee Rice this year. And I think both of these guys, I want to see them both get the ball with Patrick Mahomes on offense. I think that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing, is both of those guys getting run, and both of those guys getting an opportunity with Mahomes throwing them the ball.
Well, and this is where things get interesting just overall for the wide receiver room, right? Is Sky Moore is going to play inside and outside, but he's still kind of one of their first slot wide receivers that they have out there. They are going to run him out of the slot quite a bit. Richie James has seen almost all of his snaps for the Chiefs come from the slot. I know it's just been training camp, but even in that preseason game, he was a slot wide receiver, and Rashee Rice saw the majority of his snaps coming out of the slot. Yes, he also aligned wide on some reps, and it does look like they're moving Rice around a fair bit, but they have a lot of guys that it seems like they want to feature in certain areas, but they're all coming out of the slot, and we want to see Sky Moore take a jump. We want to see Richie James get reps because we kind of love the reliability and we love like what we think he brings as a veteran. And then we want to see Rashee Rice get out there and showcase what he can do. I just want to see how the Chiefs go about trying to feature all of those guys if they are trying to play all of them with the majority of the reps coming from the same alignment. How does Andy Reid mix and match that in? I do like that Rice has seen reps going inside and outside. I like that Sky Moore's getting that too. I think that opens them up a little bit. I'm just curious how they approach that. And I think this game, you might start to see a little bit more. I think if Andy Reid has it his way, he's going to get his starters have a couple good drives, a couple good series here, then pull them out. Maybe they'll play a little bit in the third game. Maybe they won't. We'll find out. But like, if they can get the first team stuff like completely ironed out here, I think he'd feel a lot better going through the final game of the preseason without relying on them to go out there again.
There's one more receiver we need to talk about. Then the rest of the offense we'll discuss right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
The continued darling of Kansas City's training camp stories and off-season stories the last 2 years, Justin Ross is another receiver I want to pay attention to this week. And it's kind of the same storyline as some of these other guys that we've been talking about, getting opportunities potentially with the first team. Do we see him get in with the ones at any point? I think this is a very interesting game for him because it's, where is he at in the pecking order? What opportunities does he get? What quarterback does he get the opportunities with? What special teams roles is he on? Like, I think we're going to learn a little bit about the Justin Ross kind of situation through what happens in this game and, how he responds. I think the route that he ran that he didn't get the ball is the one that's getting the most love right now, that little in-breaking route. And rightfully so. That was kind of impressive, but he did some good things in that first game, Maddie, and I want to see him build off of that, despite playing through a little bit of injury this week.
Yeah, I mean, Ross, again, like Richie James, I think had a pretty good first game. I don't think that his usage wasn't quite as varied as some of the other guys, and I think that's probably what's working against him a little bit in terms of climbing up the pecking order. He's an outside wide receiver that excels on the vertical, route plane. And the problem is the Chiefs kind of have that guy in MVS. And realistically, they have that next guy in Justin Watson, who we still know is going to get some reps. Like, they have guys that do the same stuff as Justin Ross does already ahead of him. And he's not a guy that has a ton of versatility right now as a wide receiver. So I'm with you. I'm interested to see, can they come up with a couple packages, a couple scenarios in which they do want to use him instead of those guys, or with those guys with that first team offensive unit, because he gets it some in training camp. I mean, he didn't get any first team reps with Patrick Mahomes in that first game. It was one series, but he didn't get any. I don't even think he came in for a while on Blaine Gabbert's first series when the rest of the first team offense was kind of still playing, when they still had the first team O-line out there and stuff. So he looked to be a little bit farther down the depth chart than some of the other guys we've talked about already. But I'm curious to see if they do try to throw him out there, see what he can do with the ones, and see if they can kind of figure out where they want to utilize him, despite having some other guys that has, similar skill sets.
I know where I want to use him, Matty. I look at, yeah. I mean, I know Jody Fortson got kept around last year in some capacity, partially because of red zone value. Jody Fortson's season's done. You just got done talking about MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Justin Watson. You know what? Those two guys that are kind of your vertical, plane runners. Do you know what they're not great in? The red zone. They're not the contested catch type guys. They're down the field ball winners that are going to try to run away from you and run under a football. Justin Watson or Justin Ross can do that too. Don't get me wrong, but I see, and even some of the highlights that you saw this week, Justin Ross getting some run with Patrick Mahomes in the red zone. So I wonder if that's where they might consider using him. And you've seen him do really good things in the contested catch situations. You've seen him getting some opportunities with Mahomes down there in the red zone. I think that's where he could potentially slot in is a red zone threat for this team. And I don't know, I anticipate, like I said, I anticipate this team moving the ball a little bit. And I'd love to see if maybe Justin Ross gets his first opportunities with the ones down there in the red. It would make a lot of sense. And honestly, I think Mahomes would try it out a little bit against a different team just to see what happens, because that kind of seems like something that the Chiefs might try to do in one of those situations, and try to go give a young guy a ball, see what he's made of, see if he's got what it takes. And if so, that's going to give him some confidence heading into the season.
Last year, we saw Mahomes throw a couple times to MVS, a couple times to Juju Smith-Schuster on back shoulder throws, give them a chance to go make a play. And it was rewarded a few of the times they tried it, not every time. And this year, they still have MVS, but they have Justin Ross and they have Rashee Rice, two guys that, at least in college, were better ball winners than a Juju or an MVS kind of ever have been. So, yeah, I'm with you. I would like to see this first team offense tested out a little bit. I thought on Mahomes' scramble and that on the third down play, I thought he had an opportunity to hit a back shoulder to Rashee Rice on kind of it was a little bit of a fade route. He seemed like he had good leverage. It looked like he was setting up for it, and Mahomes didn't throw it, didn't even really look that way. So I know it wasn't in the progressions, but that's something I would like to see this first team offense test out a little bit against the Cardinals. Maybe get Rice, maybe get Ross, whether it's in the red zone or just on third down, throw them up a ball and let them go get it. Let them win it and see if they can. There's no point in us as fans expecting them to do that in the regular season if we don't start seeing the proof of concept kind of ramp up a little bit. Yes, Shane Buechele did it, but Shane Buechele throws the ball anywhere he wants to, right? Like Blaine Gabbert did it, and that's something that he probably has a little bit more practice when he was thinking about coming out of Tampa or just other various stops.
Yeah.
He's played in offenses that have utilized like that as a weapon more frequently. I want to see the Chiefs lean into it a little bit more with some of the kind of personnel they have. Justin Ross, especially in the red zone, makes a ton of sense. Rice makes a ton of sense. Even Travis Kelce getting a few more opportunities in that regard. Sometimes he can cash in on them too. So hopefully we kind of see a little bit of a changeover in play style, I think, on some of these plays, because they have the guys to do it now.
Offensive line, I just continued success with that ones. I think, the tackles, well, at least with the tackles. I mean, you just got done talking about the interior guys, but the tackles specifically, I thought they looked really good in their limited stretch. Another challenge, different types of players that they're going to be seeing this time. Looking forward to seeing if they can continue to build off what they did, specifically the tackles from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, I thought Donovan Smith was really good in the run game. Juwan Taylor, not so much. And I think both those things are to be expected. Like Juwan Taylor's not a run blocker. Donovan Smith is a kind of hard-nosed guy. So yeah, I think that was expected. In pass protection, I don't think the first team, all quick passes, nobody was overly threatened. The longest pass protection play would have been on the scramble, and the pocket was really good, right? So they looked good. The thing was, the Saints don't have the best pass rush, especially the defensive end spot. Neither did the Arizona Cardinals, right? So like the test is, yes, it's against NFL players. It's 100% worth watching, but their best test is probably going to come. The Browns don't seem to be playing their stars, so they're not going to get that in the final preseason game. Like the offensive line, in terms of their pass protection, especially the tackles, might not get tested until week 1, right? They might not. That's the first time they might actually see a quality pass rusher in a live rep is once they get to the Lions when the regular season starts. But you still want to see them come out and look good. I thought Donovan Smith looked comfortable. I think he's getting used to how the Chiefs like to have them do their vertical sets, get their quick sets in. Juwan Taylor looks like a great athlete. So both guys seem like they are fitting in quite well. And I like Donovan Smith's ability to kind of set the tone along that offensive line. Him and Trey Smith, they're playing opposite sides, but those two guys together, like that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of guys they're putting on the ground.
I want to ask you about Wanye Morris. I know we talked a little bit about him. What do you think about him, and like, what are you expecting to see from him this week?
I thought he looked very good on the right side. Left side, you could tell he was less comfortable, right? You could just tell that he was left. His feet kept stop moving when he was on the left. He would throw his hands, and
that's something we saw in some of the camp clips too. Is like it seemed like when he was playing on the left side, his feet did stop moving some.
Yeah, and it always comes with the punch, right? So it's when he goes to throw his hands, he looks less comfortable. He's not even a big, one-hand user. He likes to put both hands out there, but when he does it from the left side, his feet seem to stop, and then he has to use his athleticism to recover, and he did. But as I was kind of saying, when you change that from going against the Saints' second and third string defensive ends to starting defensive ends if he has to play, you can't rely on your athleticism to recover because your feet stop. So there's some work there, but that's to be expected. He played right tackle for the past 2 years at Oklahoma. So looking good at right tackle was important. I thought he clearly will look better than Lucas Niang, who I thought just looked labored. So I'm curious to see how the offensive tackle, the second team offensive tackle reps, play out again. Will Prince Tega Wanogho play right and left, or is he just going to play left again while Wanye Morris and Lucas Niang, rotate in or out? So like, I want to see what those guys do, but I think it's kind of shaping up to be a pretty clear Wanye Morris can play both sides well as a swing tackle. Prince Tega is the next offensive tackle in line, and Lucas Niang is starting to fall a little bit behind.
I would like to see, moving on, I would like to see Deneric Prince get some run this week, literally. I'd like to see more out of him. I think was it you that, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but like it did look like he didn't have the best performance relative to what we've seen in training camp to this point. And so I'm kind of a little bit curious to see how his response from week 1 to week 2 is. I want to see him with the ball in his hands, though. Like, I want to see him running the football. Like, I would love to see him get some run with the ones, just so you get an idea of what he's got. Isaiah Pacheco, I don't think needs to tote the rock on Saturday. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got some run, when he was back home. Jerick McKinnon, maybe a little bit of work, but nothing much. I'd love to see Deneric Prince get some opportunities early with the first team and just go from there.
Yeah, I thought the moment maybe not too big, but just being in that big of a moment, Deneric Prince looked a little indecisive. And it was on the returns is where I noticed it. Now, I know Tobe said they missed a couple blocks. So he had guys in his face, but he didn't look to be just like kind of going. He didn't just seem to like naturally be operating on instinct. He seemed to be trying to process everything at once. And I even thought a couple of his runs went that way. You could see his head looking, his eyes were darting back and forth, just trying to find the right spot. That doesn't mean anything negative going forward. It was his first action in the NFL. That's to be expected. He actually got run pretty early on for the Chiefs. But so like, I do want to see him get back out there, give another chance. I just want to see him go, right? You just want to see him play fast because we know he's athletically fast. You just want to see him mentally start to go a little bit more. So maybe give him a few of those Clyde Edwards-Helaire outside zone runs. Maybe let him, get him back there on the kickoffs again, give him another opportunity to just really put his foot in the ground and go and just see what it turns into. Because I don't think he really got the chance to open up and show what he wanted to, just because I think he was kind of processing everything a little too long.
Any other offensive stuff you want to talk about before we move to defense?
What does a tight end rotation kind of look like? Jody Fortson, you mentioned it. He's out for the year. He got put on IR. Are the Chiefs going to keep 4 tight ends, or are they going to keep 3? I personally find it hard to believe that Andy Reid will go into a game with 3 active tight ends and no fullback. 1 injury takes away 13 personnel. It takes away the ability to go 22 personnel and get, a fullback and 2 tight ends on the field together. I don't see a control freak like Andy Reid putting himself up against a wall like that to where he has to change his entire offense. So who would be that fourth tight end? If it's not Forson, is it going to be Matt Bushman, who's flashed some in camp, made a couple nice plays there in the game against the Saints? Will it be somebody like Kendall Blanton, who's a little bit more known for his blocking and has made some plays in camp, not near as many receiving, but is probably a better blocker than Matt Bushman? Or are they just going to keep an extra wide receiver and say heck with it and just risk getting, running into that situation where they maybe suffer an injury and can't play as, heavy personnel?
I tweeted this out last week. I think it was last week. And I could see like the Chiefs have, like Elijah Lee, they kind of had a wink, nod, and he wound up never making the 53 for the Chiefs. But like there was talk like the Chiefs are cutting him. Elijah Lee knows he's getting cut. He's cool with it. Yeah. All that stuff. And they've done this a couple different times with some veterans. It's like, I could see them cutting Blake Bell because he's not going to have to go on waivers, signing him to the practice squad and elevating him week one as they're kind of working through some of the roster rotation. And if they want to keep 4, they could do it with Kendall Blanton too. Or Matt Bushman. I think Matt Bushman's clearing waivers. So I could see them double dipping at tight end and calling 2 tight ends up from the practice squad in week one. And I could see them doing something like that. Roster construction is going to be really fascinating this year. I could see them rostering 2 at cut down day so they can kind of navigate some stuff if push comes to shove. We're going to take a break. We'll be back to talk about the defense right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Thanks, everybody that is hanging out with us. Appreciate you. Please feel free to leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening from. It is Chiefs season. We want more Chiefs fans to find what we're doing, and we got a lot of great content here on KC Sports Network all during Chiefs season. It is time to talk about the
hold up. Slow your roll, buddy. I know Thursdays aren't your thing, but every Thursday when people leave their 5-star reviews, they have to tell us, if they hate us or like us. That's fine. You can do that. You can tell us if you hate us or like us as long as it's 5 stars. But this week, I also need you to tell me which wide receiver is going to lead the Chiefs in receiving yards against the Arizona Cardinals in the preseason. Last week, I put up a poll. The people got it right with Nico Remigio. They picked him.
Matthew, who called it in the DMs?
You and did Jordy? Jordy might have too. No, just you.
No, just
you and me in lockstep. But so did the people. So did the voters. Unfortunately, Remigio has suffered a dislocated shoulder. We don't know if he is going on the IR yet or not. So he is unlikely to be the one to lead them in receiving yards. But yes, in those 5-star reviews, tell us who is leading them in receiving yards against the Arizona Cardinals.
I saw a 5-star review that said Kent's laugh is shrill and annoying. 5 stars.
I don't care. That's fine. You can say that about me, Kent, about Craig.
Yeah, you leave a 5-star. You can say whatever you want. Appreciate everybody. That did do that. Okay, so can we talk about the defense now? I want to. All right, I do want to do this real quick because it has been like a week and a half since you've been on this show, and people are still asking. It's Chris Jones questions. Just real quick, where do you feel? How do you feel about Chris Jones not being in camp? We're like 3 weeks from the Chiefs actually playing. He's running out of runway to get live contact before week 1. Hasn't come to terms. Like, where are you at right now?
You're trying to get me in trouble with the people. There's one Chiefs player that Chiefs fans like almost as much as Patrick Mahomes, and it's Chris Jones. They love drafting him. They love him being around, being so good, as they should, right? As people should. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of over it. I'm just, do your thing, try to get paid, get your money. And at this point in time, he's still not here and he's still getting paid. I think it's kind of time to show up now. So I'm just kind of waiting for him to show up. It's kind of run its course now. The trolling has gotten from like kind of funny. I don't think it was ever hilarious. It went from kind of funny to now it's just tiresome. So they're arguing about money. It's clearly what's happening right now isn't working. So it's just time to show up and get paid to do your job and then go cash in next year for your $33 million a year that you're going to get as long as you play well. At this point, he's just hampering his next payday by not being here to be in playing shape come week 1.
The Michael Bay thing was pretty funny, though.
Yeah, it was a hard peak, and then it just crashed.
That was really funny, though.
Bay film.
He I do want to. I think he needs to get in camp pretty quick here. I think it's time. If they haven't been able to come to a deal by now, like it's time. He needs to be.
No more social media posts are going to change. No other trolling on social media is going to make Brett Veach all of a sudden pay you more money, right? Like it's over now. Training camp is now ended. Show up, right? Just show up now, and that way you can do the best you can to prepare yourself to hit the ground running at 100% on week 1. Have another career year, then you're going to get your money, whether it's from the Chiefs or another team. That's the best thing for him now going forward. He played his card out with the holdout. It's in now. It's done. It's kind of over. As a fan just of the Chiefs, like I'm over it at this point in time. I would like to see the team do the best they can, and that involves Chris Jones being there. But I also think it's the best for him. And if that's what he wants is the money, it's going to behoove him the most to show up and start playing well week 1, not needing, 3 weeks to get up to game shape and game speed again. Like, it might happen for a veteran sitting out.
All right, let's talk about the defensive ends. I'm really excited to watch these young defensive ends play. It was fun to watch Felix Anudike-Uzomah. There was a couple, he wound up on the ground a little bit, but he's still getting in a really good position. He's so close to just turning that corner. And the fact that he was getting in those positions was really fun to watch. Spiking inside, running up the arc, all that good stuff. Same with BJ. Like BJ Thompson up the arc was really good. He had a fun little arm over move that he used, off of it. Worked through a chip to continue to work through the quarterback, running up the arc on one play. I'm really looking forward to watching the young defensive end specifically in this next game.
Yeah, I thought that they impressed. I thought Felix did a good job showcasing that he is going to be a legitimate speed rusher versus NFL players. Granted, it was against the second team and kind of third team Saints offensive line for the most parts, but he was kind of a terror for them. And for the most part, it was just when he got his snap, jump correct, which it was inconsistent, but when he hit it, he flew off the line of scrimmage and he really pressed up that outside shoulder. He showed the ability to drop his pad level and start to turn the corner. I think you saw his hands show a little bit of improvement from what we saw at K-State. And most importantly, he looked a little thicker. He didn't look as thin as he did at K-State, and he still had that speed rush. Like, I definitely think that's a good sign for him. For a guy that got a little bit late into camp, he was able to still come out for this first game, still showcase kind of why the Chiefs would like him. I think the next step is maybe he eats into a couple of Charles Omenahue's reps with that first team run because Omenahue won't be available for the first 6 weeks. Maybe you get him a couple third down rushes with that first team against, starting NFL tackles to see what it looks like and see if that speed is still quite that threat that it looked like against the Saints.
Feels like BJ Thompson's a little bit better built too. Like from when you saw him at Stephen F. Austin, like I feel like, he looks like he's in good shape physically, like that was one of the questions, like freak athlete, really good first step. He showed the first step again too. Like I think he had a good first step, in some reps and some rushes. Had a plan to kind of rush inside a little bit when the left tackle kind of tried to overset a little bit. Had a plan there. I'm looking forward to watching these young guys rush. Anybody else on the defensive line that you're excited to see?
Oh, yeah. I thought the best defensive lineman for the Chiefs was Big Danny Shelton. I thought he kind of had the best game out of anybody. I thought they talked about it when they had when Colin was up there talking about the defensive lineman. He was in better shape this year, and that showed. There was a drive there where he played 8 or 9 snaps in a row, and the 8th one was his sack, which was, it was a little bit of a second effort sack because it was like on a stunt that he looped around kind of late, but that was his 8th play in a row on a series, and that includes 2 plays where he chased an outside run down the line of scrimmage, one of which he Superman jumped on top of it. Like, if a guy as big as he is, he played like a guy that was in much better shape again, and so he was still stout versus the run. He had a couple nice flashes, beating a center or a guard trying to reach him to get into the backfield. He showcased a nice power rush on one play that he just missed batting a ball down. He had the sack. That's good for the Chiefs because I also thought Keandre Coburn was good, but he didn't even crack the game until late into the game. Like, it was pretty deep in there. So Derek Notty's going to need some rest. They're going to need some guys to eat some snaps there in the middle of the field. And I thought Danny Shelton looked like he was definitely better than the Saints' second string offensive line. And that's what you want to see in the preseason out of a guy.
Well, then antennas up, red alert. We have a position battle probably is what we're looking at. Cause I think it'll be tricky for them to keep red 5 alert. Defensive tackles. If that's the case, it could come down to a Danny Shelton versus Keandre Coburn conversation if that continues. And that'll be interesting because you're going to have you're going to have Derek Nottie. You're going to have Treshaun Wharton, Chris Jones. They've typically kept 4. They've kept 4 interior defensive tackles. And with some of these other roster crunches, we're talking about trying to keep 7 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks potentially. Like this is where the roster construction is going to get fascinating because it might be Keandre Coburn versus Danny Shelton, if we're not careful here.
And I love Keandre Coburn. I want him to make the team. I think that he can do a lot for this team long term, but based on what we saw, I thought Danny Shelton was clearly the superior player. It's one preseason game. It's not all of camp, but I thought Danny Shelton was clearly the superior player in that first game, and he was doing it against a little bit better competition. There was some guys that like Nick Saldiveri was playing guard in that second team unit. Max Garcia, who I believe was with the Patriots at one point in time, was playing. Like there's some guys that you knew that Danny Shelton was beating up on. Coburn just got in so late. And so if that's the case, I'm leaning Danny Shelton. And I don't know what that means for Coburn. They drafted him early enough that I don't know if you feel super comfortable that he makes it to your practice squad. That's where it gets dicey. So what does Derek Nottie's contract look like?
See, okay. So he's cuttable. I can pull up the numbers real quick. Yeah, he is cuttable.
Derek Nottie definitely was the starter. I don't want to get anything wrong. Derek Nottie was the starter, but I think it's been 2 years of kind of regression from him. And if this is what it comes down to, if it's Danny Shelton versus Keandre Coburn and you don't feel like you get to keep you're getting Coburn to your practice squad, I don't know if you're losing that much going from Nottie to Danny Shelton as your starting nose tackle. If Shelton can consistently play, if he's playing consistently as good as he did in that Saints game throughout all of camp, because I don't think Derek Nottie was significantly better than him. Granted, he was playing against the first team offense.
No, I believe his entire contract is guaranteed. So Derek Nottie is safe. But it's $1 million. It's $1 million. And sure. I'll just tell you this. I get what you're saying. Like Derek Nottie has been a little bit inconsistent the last couple of years. However, I think it's probably not the best business to rely on Danny Shelton and a rookie defensive tackle either. And I get that Danny Shelton's had his own issues here. Derek Nottie's been consistent and available, and sometimes your best ability is your availability. And I think it'd be really hard sell to try to move on from Derek Nottie because just it's a risky proposition with the interior of your defensive line. So I look, Derek Nottie was not great. And look, he's had a hard time. Let's be honest. He's had a hard time finding jobs the last couple of years. There's a reason that he's back with the Chiefs for vet minimum. He's making a little bit over $1 million this year. He made a little bit over $1 million last year. He's signing to vet minimum deals. He's not able to find, a payday anywhere. So I get what you're saying, but he has been able to play a lot of snaps for this team. And I think they're probably going to try to hold on to someone that they know so well.
I mean, and that plays a huge role. And I guess this takes you back to the next but one qualm you have when you have Chris Jones, who, while he played a lot better against the run, he is not a nose tackle in any way, shape, or form. And Turk Wharton, who is not a nose tackle in any way, shape, or form, you get kind of really limited in what you can do. I don't know if you can take a guy like a Keandre Coburn, who is still learning, who's trying to get caught up to the NFL in terms of speed, strength, and everything else, because he's going to have to play a little bit. Derek Nottie can't play all of your nose tackle reps, and they don't have another capable nose tackle type player in that room with a Treshaun Wharton and a Chris Jones. It's going to be hard. I think it might be kind of hard to find a way to keep Coburn. I guess it might get a little bit easier when Charles Omenihu's missing the first 6 games. Maybe you do have 6 weeks to keep 5 D tackles for some reason and keep them, I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. We spent a lot of time talking Danny Shelton versus Keandre Coburn at this point in time. But that is a fascinating little position battle. That and tight end right now might be your 2 biggest position battles, given all the injuries that they've had at other positions.
What do you want to see out of the secondary in this game?
Not playing poorly. That would be a great start. Everybody I saw, I was watching the game in Florida. I watched it live. I saw on social media, people were ripping the pass rush and saying that they missed Chris Jones, and Chris Jones is now worth $50 million. What do you mean? Derek Carr's getting the ball out in 1.5 seconds and the DBs are getting cooked. There's no pass rush getting home and what the Saints were doing. That ball was out the moment he hit the back of his drop. Yeah, The pass rush didn't look great, but it didn't matter when Justin Reed was getting outran by Jawan Johnson and Trent McDuffie was in generally good coverage, but still couldn't defend balls going over to Michael Thomas or A.T. Perry. Like, I don't know. I need them to make a few more plays. I thought the safety play in particular from the first team unit wasn't good. So I want to see them make a step up. We spent all off season hyping up the entire secondary of being a strength. Didn't look like a strength versus the Saints. And if you listen to what Steve Spagnuolo and David Merritt are saying, doesn't seem like they're seeing it as a huge strength right now because they're begging a third corner to step up and like prove that they belong on the field, and no one has yet.
It feels like they've been challenged in that second year group a lot. Just trying to continue to send messages. They've been messing with the rotations with the ones. They're trying to, let the Jalen Watsons, the Joshua Williams of the world know that, these spots aren't guaranteed. They're earned. And at the cornerback position, they've suffered a little bit of attrition. Some guys that were playing well. We'll see what happens with Nick Jones. But I'm excited to see what some of these other young kids can do too. Khalif Halase, I thought looked really good. Tackled well, made a play on the football, broke on a deep route and closed, made an interception. Got his knee down in play. Echo Boyedo is interesting to me because I think what he's done is definitely it's catching my attention. And even how he even in the run fits, but I'm also I keep going back to what Andy Reid's reportedly said when they were talking to him for the pregame. Weight, putting some more weight on. They want to put a little bit more weight on him. They wish he had a little bit more weight on him. That kind of feels like maybe a hold on. Try to get him on the practice squad and then put a little weight on him for next year kind of thing. But I'm curious to see if those other young cornerbacks can keep pushing the Jalen Watson, Joshua Williamses of the world.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Echo Boyedo. I like what he flashed in that first game, and it looks very, very competitive. He does need to add some more weight, though. I'm with you. It didn't sound like, just like when listening to the coaches, that they were really ready to insert anybody else into that competition without with Nazir Johnson's injury. And now with Nick Jones' injury, it didn't look like they even felt like they had competition for that third corner spot. It was kind of Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams to step up. And hey, L'Jarius Sneed being healthy enough to play would also be a phenomenal thing to see at this point in time too. So I want to see Halase and Echo Boyedo build on what was a strong game one. I think that'd be very good for the Chiefs. Maybe if they rack up back-to-back good games, maybe there is start to be some competition. We do now have to start talking about, okay, one of these guys now becomes that fifth corner kind of locked in to this roster. They are 100% going to be there, and maybe they can start to push for that third cornerback spot. But we got to see it a few more times, I think, to get there. If I had to lean one way or the other, I think Halase is just a little bit more physically ready. I think
100%.
Yeah, he can stick his nose in there. He can do a lot of the stuff that Steve Spagnuolo really likes. So if there's one guy that I think I would slightly edge towards out of those two in terms of maybe stepping up and competing for that third corner spot, he'd be the guy. But I think there's a decent gap between the two. If we see somebody else get first team reps, though, then all men on deck for that.
The thing I'm watching too is special teams, because Nick Jones and Nazir Johnson being gone means some of the roster shakeup that we might see could involve special teams. So what does it look like at the cornerback position on special teams is one of the things I'm definitely paying attention to. Do we see an Echo Boyedo? Do we see a Khalif Halase getting into some of these first team special teams reps? Because that could mean, hey, we're trying to get him fitting into this, into this roster because we're going to need them for special teams. That's something I'm definitely paying attention to. Anything on the linebackers that you want to talk about?
I thought Leo Chanel was really good. I thought he looked very fast. He looked a little bit more decisive than I think he did at times last year, even when playing in a more will linebacker role. So with the second team unit, he was playing a little bit of will and not just Sam. So it wasn't just all about, hey, go hit a guy. And I actually thought he reacted pretty quick. And I thought he showcased his range and his ability to play behind the line of scrimmage. So I like Willie Gay. I think Willie Gay had some really good plays actually in that game, but Leo Chanel, he looks like he's developing into do a lot of the same stuff first the run. I am curious to see how it breaks out. It seemed like Drew Tranquill was getting maximum amount of reps being the Mike with the second team. Is he going to break into the first team reps at all? Is he going to play dime linebacker at all? Is he going to see any will reps? And if not, I just want to see kind of, I guess, how it shows up, because like the Chiefs have 4 linebackers that need to play. I don't know how else to say it. The Chiefs have 4 linebackers that need to be on the football field, and I just don't know how they're going to do it at this point in time. I thought Leo Chanel played the best in that game out of all of them, but like Drew Tranquill was making play calls his first year with the entire second team and still had a good game himself.
I'm curious if the Chiefs get into the dime, if Drew Tranquill plays this week, if this is the week they get him out there.
I hope so.
I do too. And I don't think it's I think Drew, like the way they've talked about Drew Tranquill and what he's done, like I think he's earned the trust of this team. So I don't think they're going to throw Nick Bolton out there in the dime. Like I think when it comes time for real, I think Drew Tranquill will be out there, and I'd like to see it this week. Maybe they're just trying to hold him back just a little bit, not show anybody that. I don't know. I mean, like, no one's ever seen Drew Tranquill play dime linebacker. So
I think it's just a slow drip. I think it's just a slow drip while he's learning kind of the defense, though, right? Because like he's making the play calls. If you put him out there in dime, there is absolutely nobody else to really cover for what he's doing. So like I don't mind that in game 1. I would like to see, though, if that's the plan, he better get some of those reps in one of these next 2 games, because it's just different again, right? He needs to be out there where he's the only kind of linebacker and be able to call the shots. Nobody else there can help. Second year Leo Chanel, second year guy Cole Christensen out there, or whoever else is out there with them. They can't run, they can't help them out. So I think if there's a time to do it, it'll be this one. I hope it's with the ones, so we shall see. But yeah, this linebacker group's a lot of fun. As thin as a defensive line is starting to look. The linebacker group's looking nice. I even thought the depth of that unit, like Cam Jones, was flying around a little bit, making a couple nights. I mean, he kind of looked like Nick Bolton just in the way he attacked everything at full speed. I'm not saying he's near as good as Nick Bolton, but similar look, similar size, and the way he came downhill really fast. I thought he looked good. Christensen showcased a couple nice plays. So like, I think the linebacker group's a big area of strength for them. The problem is I just don't know how you get a lot of them on the field frequently.
Good problem to have. And it'll shake itself off. And it's a long season. There's going to be injuries, so you never know how that kind of figures itself either. All right, let's predict this game, Matthew. Yes, you heard me.
Oh,
right.
we do that? Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Like really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go ahead.
No, you go first.
Me, I didn't know this was coming.
It's just a meaningless score in a meaningless game, but we're continuing the bit.
Okay. The Kansas City Chiefs will get the ball first. They will drive down the field and falter in the red zone and kick a field goal. The Cardinals will come out quick. If one first down, they'll have to punt the ball back. You're getting a whole game by game.
Hurry up.
You asked for.
I want a score.
Yeah, I'm getting there, but I gotta build it up before we put the score. This is what you asked of me, Kent.
Hurry up.
The Chiefs get the ball back again. Patrick Mahomes just obliterates the Cardinals defense down the field. A lot like week 1 last year in the regular season. They go up 10-0. Cardinals get the ball back. They show a few signs of life as they flail around. Maybe they get
That's going to do it for the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. 27-20 Chiefs win. We'll catch you later.
So shrill.